All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. It is 4:30. So I think Joanne is collecting the roll call from the gallery. So I don't think we need to do a shout out, do we, Joanne?
I've got it. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. It doesn't look like we have any public to be heard. So we can go ahead and move on to the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from last meeting? Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Okay, Tom, and a second?
Dale,
Dale?
second.
Great. All in favor of approving the minutes? All right, that is unanimous. So next up, we have accessions. So Eric, do you want to take over from here?
All right, I will share my screen. And you all see the March 2022 proposed accession slideshow. Great. I can see some of you on my screen, but not quite all. There we go. I can see everybody. So it was another busy month of donations. We had still continuing to collect things that were used in our Longmont 150 exhibit. So this photograph, which I think is a great one of the 2013 flood, boating on First Avenue, just taken actually by a museum staff member in 2013. Next up, we have another photo that was used in Longmont 150. This is the Longmont Multicultural Action Committee, really a pretty significant committee in the city that promotes a lot of the multicultural events that the city does. And I'm working on getting everybody in the photo identified. I think we have about 3 that aren't identified yet. So get those taken care of. Next
Can I be
up,
able to help with that?
okay, great, thanks.
Yeah.
Next up is a very small item. You can see I've got the measuring stick next to it. It's only about 2 inches long, but it is a sewing notion, or basically a little sewing kit that a little hard to read, but down at the bottom it says use nonpareil flour, supreme quality in every sack, Longmont Flour Mill, Longmont, Colorado. And you might think, why is a flour mill creating a sewing kit? But the donor pointed out that flour sacks usually were then repurposed as dresses or quilts, and according to the donor, they would even take the string out of the top of the sack and reuse that to sew. So kind of made sense to have a promotional sewing notion. And you can see there's a thimble, there's a needle inside the silver cylinder, and then the thread. So very much still intact after close to a century. Next up, we have a small archival collection. We've got a typewritten letter of a man from Longmont to his mother. He took a cross-country motorcycle trip to Connecticut. And then what's kind of cool is we have the certificate of title to the motorcycle that he used to take that trip. He was going from Longmont to college at Wesleyan. So kind of a neat combination there. Next are several objects from the Wise family. These are things that really we were able to get quite a bit of history on. Susan Wise, the donor, actually was a former advisory board member, so she, and also a curator at the Art Institute of Chicago. So between those two things, she knew the value context. So I sat down and had a pretty lengthy interview, and she talked about with the manual calculator how she always knew her father was working on finances because she could hear the sound it made. It makes this very distinctive sort of click, 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 click as you operate it. And then the bronze bells were used in the sheep farm. And then ironically enough, she knew the least about the two objects from Longmont High School, which were actually hers. She went to Longmont High and she was sort of like, oh, I guess I found these two. They're my class ring and an emblem, but both, documented to Longmont High School. Significant there. And last, we have a larger archival collection. As you've probably seen, the Longmont Public Library is undergoing some pretty significant renovations on its second floor. And so they've been doing a lot of weeding. And one of the things that they weeded was the Colorado file, which was 2 file cabinets full of reference material that the librarians had collected on Longmont and surrounding communities. It's something I had always kind of had my eye on because there's a lot of interesting original like drafts for a local history book and City of Longmont reports that the library had gathered, plus a lot of clippings and other things that they just gathered and filed. So it seemed like an appropriate thing for us to have. Any questions about any of those? I'll go ahead and stop sharing so everybody can see each other.
I have a question, Eric.
Okay.
I was just actually curious what kind of collections the museum has in relation to the floods and if there's any plans to display items next year for the 10th anniversary.
Oh, good question. We don't have a lot. We've got photographs. A few photographs is really all. At the time of the flood, I think the curator at that time was very nervous about taking any actual flood debris in because of pest issues and so forth. So we didn't really collect much at that time. It is now certainly something we are going out and collecting, but we don't have really a space for an actual exhibit. Our galleries are pretty much booked for next year. So, but it's something to think about. We do have our Kaiser C gallery where we do photo exhibits. So we might do an exhibit there of flood photos.
How many photos do we have, Eric, of flood?
Off the top of my head, I'd say probably less than 20.
Is it possible to give a call out to the community to donate photos of that flood?
Yeah, I think that is a good suggestion because
I remember walking right after that flood, walking down to the creek, to the river, and the devastation was absolutely incredible. And so if we could get photos of that devastation, that would be terrific.
all right, yeah, I will work with our marketing folks to get that call out going in the next few months.
All those 100-year cottonwoods were completely taken out. It was just unbelievable. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. We could expand that photo collection.
Cool. Let's see. I see Renee has her hand up, and I know and Kim wanted to say something as well.
I'm actually really glad that Katie asked that question. I think it would be really important, and I think the community would love it if we could have something, even if it's like a virtual way, to kind of honor that 10-year anniversary of the floods. I mean, even like I know that the museum is booked out and full, but if there's like a small space that we can even just dedicate to kind of just honor that, since that is a huge part of Longmont's history, I think people would really appreciate that.
I'm not sure I have any more to offer. I think that I just echo what has already been said. I do think that we could probably use the Kaiser C space as a photo exhibition. But if what we may be able to do an online exhibit as well. So I agree that making sure that we recognize that moment is going to be really important for the 10-year anniversary. We can work on that.
We have photos of how the creek, how the river is being redeveloped now, re-landscaped.
So the city has taken enormous numbers of them, and I have not accepted them yet into the collection, but that's actually a pretty straightforward thing to.
Wow, good, great. They may have a lot of photos of the original devastation as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
Can you guys remind me, what is the anniversary? Is that in September?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can work on that.
All right, any other questions on the proposed accessions? If not, we would need a motion.
I move that we accept the accessions as presented by Eric.
Thank you, Bruce. Is there a second? Thank you, Katie. All right, all in favor of accepting the accessions? Go ahead and raise your hand. Dale, are you? oh,
Yes, I am, sorry.
okay. That
I was
is
checking
standard.
out the rain outside.
I understand. All right, fantastic. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for everyone for the discussion about the flood. I think that is an important point, and a good discussion topic. Thank you.
Yeah, can I add just one more thing? I was just at a meeting earlier today where we were talking about programming in the fall for the museum. And this is a great reminder. I think we need to add some programming for some things that we could do either for, panel discussions or other things. I think that this is a good reminder that we need to add some things for programming for the fall.
Great. All right, well, Kim, it looks like you're up next with the report of the museum director. You want to take it away?
I will take it away. Thank you, Mia. Kind of as my usual, I'm not going to go through every single bit of the report, but certainly if you have questions, please shout out at me and I'll be happy to address if I can and defer if I need to. So, everything is a moving target when it comes to the pandemic. So at this point in time, what we have seen is that there has been a really dramatic decline in terms of the transmission rates for COVID. And so we've got no mandates whatsoever at the museum right now. So you can come in without a mask and you can come in if you're unvaccinated. And, we will, of course, as we've done throughout all of this, be responsive to what Boulder County Health is telling us. But right now, there are no mandates at the museum. And we're, trying to be as responsible as we possibly can. And I think that the data supports that. So I think that's a good thing. I also want to say thanks to everybody who participated in the JGL consultant meetings. So we had a group of folks visiting us from JGL who were looking at ways that we might be able to think about expansion of the museum in terms of the gift shop and in terms of food service and also in terms of our rental program. And I feel like they asked a lot of very, very on point questions to people who participated. And we're going to be receiving a report from them by the end of the month where we'll be able to look at some recommendations that they have you know, in the event that we are able to expand what we might be able to do, I have all the confidence in the world based on the questions that they asked that we're going to get a really, really good report from them. So I will be sure and share those results with you. And there may be additional questions that they have in the meantime. So if there's any reason to reach out to you before that, I will certainly do that as well. We also learned through that process, this was a little bit of a surprise to us, I will confess, because the planning department does notification for all the people who are in the surrounding area about things that are happening in the planning department. And just because, you know, they might have sent a postcard or something like that, like we just didn't know that this was going on. But as a result of the JGL being there, I had actually reached out and asked the planner responsible for that property to join us in the meetings. And she was able to tell us that, in fact, there is a conditional use plan that is pending. And for the commercial development that's just at the west of the museum. And so this has been a plot of land that has been in the works for many, many, many years. And they've gone sort of back and forth with planning, and plans have been updated and then retracted. And so it's just been a long time coming. And what they think now is that the plan that is in the planning department is going to be the thing that ends up happening. And what it is really just right there. I can't remember the name of that street, but there's an unbuilt street that it's like from there to Quail. That's the extent of the development. And further north of that, which was planned to be a hotel, that is no longer part of what they're talking about in this development. And what is going to be in what they have planned and what is scheduled to happen is retail, restaurants, and then a drive-through coffee shop. As far as I understand, the only thing that is for sure in that plan is the drive-through coffee shop, that they don't actually have renters for the other components of that development. And that would be on the first floor. And then there's a second floor part of that that would be offices. And so really just 2 floors, commercial development on the first floor, and then offices on the second floor. She's going to keep me in the loop about how the plans go forward. I wish that I had known about this previously, because there was a comment period, a public comment period that we missed. And the way that the plans are drawn right now, there's basically these really sharp peaks that go into the 3rd floor plane. The building itself is only 2 floors, but the peaks of the roofs go into that 3rd floor. And I don't think that they are going to make much of an impact on our view to the mountains, on the museum's view to the mountains. But certainly if we could encourage them to lower that peak, it would be better. So if there's an opportunity for us to be able to influence that, then I will certainly let you guys know about it. I've seen the drawings. I'm not concerned, but I do wish that those peaks were a little bit lower. Because of course we've got a fantastic view to the mountains. So if we have any thing that impede that, it would be bad. But I'm glad through this process that we were able to get her into those meetings and to be able to understand what's going on. In the exhibits department, we've landed on a title for the collaborative exhibit that we've been working on with the Boulder Museum of Contemporary Art. We're going to call that agriculture, and the graphic design around that is going to really kind of make the word culture very prominent. So it's going to be, you know, farmers and artists paired together, and so we'll be able to kind of feature that in the graphic design. And then we've been moving forward with the farms and the artists that are going to be part of that. So that in your report, you've got the list of farms, you've got the list of the farms that are going to be hosting art. So the ones that are in that first 1 through 8 list, those are folks that are going to be partnering with artists that are going to create works that are going to be either at the museum or in Boulder at the Museum of Contemporary Art. And then the ones that are in the 1 through 3 list, that's where we're going to have actual artwork at the farms. And so I'm super, super excited about that kind of collaboration between the two of us. And then we've got artists that are showing in the Longmont galleries listed there. And we've already been working with Sam Van Aken, for instance. Margarita Cabrera is actually the sister of the woman that owns Olin Farms. And so that's a great connection there. I've worked with Patrick Merrill before, and he's a fantastic artist. So we're really excited about the way that this exhibit is coming together. And I think that there's going to be some ripple effect in terms of the way that the community perceives this exhibit as well. And we'll continue to work on the Teepee to Tiny House exhibition. We've recently contracted with Stephen LaPointe to consult with us on the teepee area. And I think that our relationship with Stephen is just going to get broader and deeper because he is a Lakota educator and he is extremely knowledgeable about all of the things that we work on with Native American cultures. And so I think he is going to end up becoming a really trusted friend of the museum and somebody that we count on a lot for being able to have Native American consultant on board with the things that we do. We've also been constructing the shepherd wagon, and then you guys get to see this wonderful drawing that Jared was able to create. And so he's going to be building that, and that'll show up in the exhibition. Brack has been working on an interactive that looks at the comparison between different kinds of installations and what their effectiveness is. And then, of course, our interns continue to be really, really great contributors to what we're doing. So they've been working on the shepherd's wagon research and kind of the objects that are contained inside the shepherd's wagon. They're working on 3D printing of all the furniture that are in the scaled houses and so on and so forth. You can kind of read through what they've been doing. We have been so lucky to have amazing interns working with us who are extremely skilled and bring a lot of advantage to what we're doing. In the auditorium section, you can see there's a long list of the things that we've been working on. I think that we have done an amazing job of being able to expand the auditorium reach and the audiences that we've been able to appeal to. We've got the we had the hip hop duo, we had the Mozart concert, we had the 5 Points Jazz, Purnell's Steam, like talk about diversity. We're doing all kinds of things in the auditorium. So I'm really proud of what's been going on. And then you can see there by the numbers, we've got a total of 10 events, community partners, we've got 3 events, total attendance is 1,000 plus. And then ticket sales at this point are almost 20,000. We are seeing that we are breaking records. And so in the fall of last year, we broke records from the fall of any previous year. In the spring of this year, it looks like we're going to break all the records of any spring that we've ever had. And we're still experiencing a pandemic. So I'm feeling really, really confident and happy about the way that our programming is appealing to people. The same thing is true in our education department. Our discovery days have been selling out and we've actually had to turn people away. It never feels good to turn people away. So we're seeing what we can do to be able to accommodate as many people as possible. We've moved our the program to classrooms A and B, which is bigger than the discovery days classroom. And that gives us the ability to accommodate more people. And so we continue to kind of troubleshoot exactly what that can look like and how we can accommodate as many families as possible. The reality is that we see people from Niwot, we see people from Boulder, we see people from Arvada that come to visit us for discovery days. And so it's really bad if we have to say, we don't have any room for you. So we do our best to try to accommodate those folks. And of course, yeah, go ahead.
Can you say, I've been going
Passport.
to Discovery Days in the bigger classrooms is so amazing.
Oh, good. I'm
I
so happy to
know
hear
this
that.
is something Miss Lee has really wanted. And it's like babies can be there now, and like you can see babies kind of exploring in a way that they couldn't in the other space. And it's just been like a really nice change. So I wanted to
I
just
love that.
give a
Thank
plug
you
for
so
that.
much. Yeah. Bruce, did you have something? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just making a bad joke. So-
We are totally up for bad jokes. What are you talking about?
Are you? Yeah, no, it's just, we start issuing passports to the people in Boulder or, you know,
If they want to come to Longmont, right?
yeah, when they cross the border, right.
Totally. Very good. Yeah, that program is very popular, and you know, I'm a parent too, so I know how this can be helpful for, you know, being able to provide enrichment for your young kids before they enter school. So I do think that we're seeing this, you know, the numbers play out, that this is a really, the demand for this program is really high. And I'm glad to hear your feedback, Kelly, on just being able to offer, you know, more space for people. We talked about it a lot today that with AB, we can provide both space and more people. And so I think that both of those are we can accomplish both of those with moving to that new space. And then I'm like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Kim. I was just gonna ask, how much do you charge per child?
I'm gonna have to look to somebody else to answer that question.
$4.50 if you're a museum member.
$4.50, okay.
Yeah, per child that's doing art. Babies are free.
Right. And we have scholarships available as well. So nobody should be turned away for any reason.
Is it $4.50 per session? Per
Yes.
class? I see. All right.
But like I said, if we have scholarships available that are funded by the Stewart Family Foundation and the Dodge Family Foundation. So nobody should ever be turned away for a financial reason. Any other questions before I
Can I
move
ask one
on?
more question? If I can
Yeah,
ask
of
one more
course.
question? How long does Discovery Days, go on? What,
So Discovery Days is basically aligned to the school calendar. And so we've got a fall season and a spring season, winter, spring season. And then during the summer, there's a hiatus.
is it like 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Or-
It's a drop-in program. So we offer it every week and you come in anytime you want to.
Huh? That's great.
And we've been doing our darndest not to turn people away. So
Yeah.
we've been trying very desperately to be able to accommodate people. It's a clear need for the community and people outside the community as well. And so that's the next point on the report, is that we've awarded $17,000 in summer camp scholarships, and that funds 75 kids. And we're at the moment that this report was written, summer camp enrollments are going well. We've had 7 out of 40 already full, and then some have wait lists as well. I expect that those are going to sell out. We typically do. Last season, the only ones that didn't sell out were the ones that we were offering virtually. So that tells you something. People want to get out. And then we're also still working on our IDEA team, the inclusivity, diversity, equity, and accessibility. And we're going to be meeting later this month and really talking about next steps and what we can do to further those initiatives. In the collections area, we I think I told you in the last meeting that the move of the textile collections was funded in the budget of last year. And so we've been working on, Eric has been working on getting all of those things in order. So there's a job announcement out there right now. We're hiring 2 paid full-time temporary museum technicians to help with that move. And there's a lot that goes into the planning and implementation of that. So thank you, Eric, for all of your work doing that, because, oh boy, it'll be nice to be able to have kind of a ripple effect that once that space is emptied, then we'll be able to move some office spaces and so on and so forth. So it'll be good to be able to use the building differently. And then he's had researchers in the collections like mad. And so there's a lot going on with J.C. Penney's and Longmont, the obituaries in the Longmont newspaper, retirement of the Times Call reporter after 38 years, and so on. So Eric gets research requests on a very, very regular basis. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands kind of the work that he does behind the scenes. We also have been working on a database transfer. So the thing that we've been using for the past several years is called Past Perfect. And so Past Perfect is kind of going away. And so we're going to be replacing both the collections database and the database that we use for our membership. And so those are things that are going to be happening before the end of the year. Those are things that nobody really knows about, but there are tons of work on the background. So wanted to make sure that you understood that was going on. Art and Public Places, we've got a commission set up for selecting about half a dozen pieces in the Adopt an Artwork. And that's going to be for them to be able to look at the maintenance reports of everything that's going on in the city. So basically what happens is that the Commission for Art and Public Places, it's a 15-member group, and they do they pick pieces throughout the collection of public art in Longmont, and they go out and they look for different kinds of conditions, and they record those. And so every year we go through this process where they adopt an artwork and they go out and they record and they take photographs. And if there are any kinds of maintenance issues or rehabilitation issues, then we try to address those. And that becomes part of the maintenance project that we do with Art and Public Places. We've also got a pretty major project going on with the Spoke mural. So there is a Boulder County Housing Authority building that has recently been built, and I'm sure that you guys have seen this. It is at Kaufman and Mountain, if I remember correctly. And there's a huge parking garage that's gone up in conjunction with that building. And AIPP is going to be commissioning an artist to put a big mural along the backside of that parking garage. So as you drive down Main Street, you'll actually be able to see that mural because it rises above the building that's in front of it on Main Street. So that's going to be a major project, and I can't remember the dollar figure off the top of my head, but I think it's about a $60,000 project that's going to be going on now. So that's going to be a very, very cool new addition to the public art collection. The gift shop has been seeing some really, really great sales in the past few months. The gift shop in February, we were at more than 5,000, and largely that's a result of what we've brought in for the washi exhibition. We do see a lot of bump in revenue when we have some really great inventory that surrounds exhibitions. So we're seeing that take place now. The new season has started and the front desk transactions have increased. Tickets went on, well, we've already passed the BIF, the Boulder International Film Festival. And so we saw some really good sales there. And then we also have art and sip classes that are selling out. The washi exhibition, again, has been seeing a lot of attendance. So on the free day, Saturday, February the 12th, we had 154 visitors. And through the whole month of February, it was about 18,000. So Washi has really been a very, very popular exhibition. It's been a great boom to our membership as well. So speaking of, we are currently at 727 and saw 20 new members, 21 new memberships. That's kind of hard to say. And 12 renewals. And that comparison, the height that we ever saw was 801 during the Ansel Adams exhibition. So we were actually really close to the height that we saw during Ansel Adams. And we may see that before the end of the show. So it's clear that this has been a really popular exhibition. We're working on the closing details of a closing event that'll happen on May the 6th. As you may recall, because of the spike in COVID case numbers, we decided not to have an opening reception for this show. And so instead we opted for a closing reception. And so that's going to end up happening on May the 6th. And you'll see details about that coming soon. We had 31 Giving Club members come to private Washi tours. So this is one of the things that we did because we weren't able to offer that opening exhibition reception. We decided that we wanted to be able to really honor our Giving Club members. And so we offered these private tours. They were very popular. Eric and Jared both gave tours. And we had them filled up in basically less than 24 hours. They were very popular. And we've gotten lots of great feedback on the back end of that as well. We've got a couple of grant proposals that we've got pending. So the Longmont Community Foundation Left Hand Giving Club. So we'll see how that goes. We are also working on developing a plan for overall fundraising that are outside of grants. As you all know, Megan is relatively new to her job, and the thing that she's been working on since she started is grant writing because of the money that has been available as a result of the pandemic and federal funding. She's done nothing but grant writing. And now I think that we're sort of seeing the tail end of that. She's going to be changing her focus and really trying to figure out how we can look at the bigger scheme of grant writing that includes individual donors, foundations, all those kinds of things. And then we're also brainstorming some Giving Club activities that may include tours of historic buildings, with Eric downtown. He's always really good at that, and those programs seem to sell out. So, you know, Eric is our cash cow. If you guys
I see him walking around the neighborhood.
Absolutely. Between the book and his tours, really, Eric just does so much for us in terms of revenue. And then there's a lot of detail about the marketing activities that are going on. There's a link there to our 360-degree tours, a picture of the banners that we include downtown, which I think the Washi banners are really, really beautiful if you hadn't had a chance to see them. And then our partnerships with the radio stations. So I don't know if there are any questions you guys have as I rattled through that very, very quickly. All right, as you know, I'm available. So if you think of questions later, just let me know.
How are you going to handle the discovery days? If it's sold out all the time, that means there's an enormous demand.
There is that's a great question, Bruce. And we were talking about that earlier. I don't know the answer at this point, but that's one of the things that we are really trying to figure out. I think that we could be looking at expanding the space. Certainly, it would be ideal if we are able to expand the museum and have a bigger footprint for being able to host those programs. that's the ideal, but that's still, even if we were able to get that going right away, it would be years down the road for that building to happen. So we're going to have to figure out some interim steps as well.
Is personnel a problem?
Yes and no. I mean, I think that if we were able to, for instance, have 2 classrooms operating at the same time, we would need more staff, definitely.
Is there any talk of also like offering additional times?
We are certainly talking about Fridays and weekend offerings. And that is a direct result of thinking about our inclusivity and diversity work, that ultimately there are a lot of families who aren't able to join us during the day, during the week. And so if we're able to offer some times during the weekends where families that are occupied during the week aren't able to attend, then that would be ideal. So all of those things are part of the mix, because that would mean more staff. I can't ask Lee to do 7 days a week.
She already does so much.
Yeah.
Well, you could. But
I'm not going to. How if I
yeah,
if I
you're
put
not
it
going
that way?
to, right? It's theoretically possible, right?
It is theoretically possible, but I like her, so I'm not going to.
Yeah. Right.
All right, let me know if
It sounds
anybody
like
has.
it sounds like a lot is happening. Sounds like a lot is
There's a lot happening, and we really would love for there to be more happening. So, we do our best to expand staff and to try to really meet the needs of the community. That's what it boils down to. Renee, do you have a question too?
I just want to say, yeah, it sounds like you're doing so much and it's really exciting. I've had some friends that happen to be in Longmont for whatever reason. And I'm like, oh my gosh, have you done X, Y, Z? There are all these things going on. They're like, I didn't realize Longmont was so fun.
We're
like,
cool.
It is. We're so cool. So I just want to say, like, just good work. It's awesome. I'm really sad I couldn't make it to some of the art and sips. They looked wonderful. I didn't know if you were thinking of maybe having one opportunity where we could bring, like, it could be a parent with an older kid to do some of the art, like in the evening. I don't know if it not quite the same as like Discovery Days, but if we could purchase an additional ticket.
The thing that we do now is for Big Kids Day when the schools are out. But we don't really have a program for the age range that you're talking about. And part of the reason for that is that this age range was really what had a demonstrated need, right?
Okay.
Certainly, if we had expanded staff and we had expanded spaces and all of that, we would love it. We would love it. But right now, we really have been trying to kind of just meet the biggest demand.
Is
That
there
makes
an
perfect
age
sense.
cap on the art and sip?
You could be 100 years old and come to
I
art.
mean, like a lower end, like if a 14-year-old, like, could a 14-year-old not go if they wanted to?
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. No, I don't. I'm not sure I've ever been asked that question before. That's a great question.
So
The thing about it is that it really is geared towards, people who want to get out and relax and just do a creative activity and that sort of thing. I would think, and I'm saying this totally off the top of my head, that it would be, because there's alcohol involved, that there would need to be a parental kind of chaperone.
Because I've attended too, and I guess I would imagine like a very like arts minded high schooler, like a trip with their mom, their aunt, like whatever, I think they would have an amazing time. Like, I guess there's nothing about the activity that seems restrictive to that to me.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'll
Um,
ask about it.
so I
it
just didn't
has-
know if like the alcohol, yeah, the presence of that like creates a different requirement.
Well, we have, our bartenders are tips trained, so they're not going to serve anybody who's underage. But this is the first time anybody's asked me that question, so I will look into it. I'll let you know.
Thank you. I had some, like my niece is 16 and she is just in love with art. And she came and I was like, gosh, I wish we could sign up for this, but I don't know that like the age requirement would hinder us. So thanks for looking into it.
Yeah, I will look into it. Anything else?
Yeah,
Renee,
what-
your hand.
I'm sorry.
No, go.
Oh, okay. What are your thoughts about in-person meetings?
Oh, that's actually a really great question, Bruce. So we have been asked to ask you how you guys feel about it. So the city council has decided to go into in-person meetings, and that sort of opens the question for all of us. What do we want to do going forward? So I invite your input. How do you guys want to have our meetings going forward? Maybe it would make it easier if I say, if you want to meet in person going forward, raise your hand. One, two, three, four, five, and several maybes. Okay, so let's discuss it. Because my understanding is that it's all or nothing. Like either we stay remote or we meet in person. So I would venture to say that if there is any hesitation, that perhaps we just make the decision that we're going to continue at least for one more month to meet virtually. Is everybody comfortable with that decision?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the month of April, we will meet virtually, and then we'll have the same conversation next month. How does that sound? A lot can change in a month.
I think that makes sense. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking the question. We'll continue the conversation.
If we continue to stay virtual, I know that that allows for a lot of flexibility for us to take meetings from anywhere. Like if we, so that's very nice, but I wonder if we could try and do something where we could put an optional part around it, like for us separate from a meeting to be able to like get together and meet each other face to face. I don't know if anyone's interested in that or not.
Well, I should just make sure that we all understand that because you are a city council appointed committee, that if more than two of you meet with each other, then it's actually considered an open meeting where we have to notify the public, and the public has to have an opportunity to join the meeting and be heard.
Okay, that's helpful.
And so certainly outside of the official meeting of the advisory board, you guys can go do whatever you want to do. But in terms of the official meeting of the advisory board, we have to make sure that we are abiding by those regulations.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, of course.
And it is absolutely nice to get together in person and get to see one another. I know, Kim, you had mentioned, since we have some new members going out to the
Collection center.
yes, thank you. So that might be an opportunity for well-spaced in-person meeting in a building that we know has good ventilation, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, right. Let's plan on meeting virtually next month. And then, like I said, we'll have the same conversation at our next meeting, and maybe that's a good kind of compromise, that we meet out at the Museum Collection Center. For those of you who haven't been able to see it, then you get to see all the crazy stuff that we have in our collection.
Fantastic. Lots of good discussion this afternoon. So there is no report of the chair, since I was notified 5 minutes before the meeting that I was stepping in. So, so no report of the chair. Do we have any unfinished business? Kim, Joanne, I will defer to you guys. I don't have anything on my radar as unfinished business.
No unfinished business.
Great. So we do have new business, the board and commission pre-interview guidelines and recommendations. So not sure if this is something that Joanne or Kim was going to talk about. I did review the page that was sent out with the packet, and it looks like we're being asked to participate in some way. So I'm not sure what the timeline is on this, or what we're looking at, but if someone has a little more information and wants to take it away, I would invite that.
Joanne, can I ask you to do that?
Sure. Sure. So like you said, Council Member Waters has asked that the board helps interview their own applicants. And so he'd like you all, in probably a nominating committee of no more than 2, along with your council liaison, that would be Kim, to conduct interviews. And board recruitment already opened. Board recruitment closes April 22nd. So you're being asked to conduct interviews during May, and then get back with the city clerk's office that first week of June with a recommendation. So you have 3 terms coming up. Brighton is term limited as of the end of June. Ria's also, you're not term limited, but your term is up, so you can apply. And then we have 1 vacant term also. So, you know, potentially 3 openings, and we'll see what kind of applications we get. The city clerk's office will first vet those applications, forward those to you, and you conduct your own interviews. They're asking that you have a fixed list of questions, and that you ask the same questions to everyone. Interview for no more than 30 minutes. Score those folks and send those scores back to the city clerk's office via your liaison. So we realize this isn't, you know, vetting the next Supreme Court justices, and we want to keep it casual and friendly and encourage public participation instead of discourage it, right? But so that's sort of it in a nutshell. And if we could have a couple people maybe self-nominate themselves for the nominating committee, that would be great.
Joanne, I have a question. I wasn't clear from this information you sent or was sent out. Does this take the place of city council
So good question.
interviews? I mean, maybe Susie could tell us.
Yeah, take it away, Susie, if you want, but no, it does not take the place.
So the purpose was really, I think, where Councilmember Waters was coming from was that you as the board members have a better idea of what you would like to see on the board. You know, you have the expertise, the background to really make those selections rather than us being the ones to select. And then, you know, we had kind of gone around for quite some time about, you know, possibly having it be a recommendation to us and then we decide, or it's just kind of, you know, I think it's going to, the names are going to come back to us as, you know, we just kind of finalize and not really,
Okay.
you know, not really overstep, you what your selections are. And so does that kind of clarify? I know we had
Yeah,
gone.
that does it. I think it's, I mean, a 30-minute interview. I mean, I've served on 3 different boards and I've had 3-minute interviews,
Yeah.
and they'd say, that's it, goodbye. And I think this is a great way for the board to find out something about people who want to be on the board.
Yeah, and that was the direction we kind of wanted. We wanted to go on, that that you all would be selected, picking the questions based on what your priorities are as a museum board, or as any of the boards. And they don't have to go as long as 30 minutes. They can certainly 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Just the recommendation was that we don't extend beyond that.
Mhm.
That time. I think some job interviews have gone less than that. So, yes. And then, so I think for us, it would be the final seal when it comes to council, but really each board would be the ones making the decisions. I guess the only question that I'm thinking of, and it just came to mind right now, is if you had a lot of folks who were wanting to come on again, wanting to be reselected. So,
And it's
kind of.
my understanding that you interview those folks as well.
Yes.
Would the interview questions be provided by council, or is that something that the board would determine interview questions, or the interview committee from the board would determine questions?
You all would determine the questions. Definitely you'll have access to the previous questions of what we asked, but you can decide either to stick with that list or change them suiting the needs of the board.
And they would just need to be consistent across.
Yes, across the museum board. So they wouldn't have to be necessarily consistent with planning and zoning or.
Right. Tom, did you have a question?
You're muted, Tom.
I was just going to suggest that between now and the next museum board meeting, we all think about this and submit questions in advance that that each of us would like to have answered by by candidates. And so that when we have our next board meeting, Kim can have a listing of what we've all suggested, and we can discuss it at our next meeting and try to finalize the question.
Right.
In addition to the ones that City Council has asked us all.
I do have an interview guide with about 6 standardized questions that I can go ahead and email out to everyone if you'd like for a starter.
That would be great.
A place to start. Okay, so we've got some, and we'll send those out and you can hone those.
Yeah.
So
That's
the
a great-
application procedures would remain the same. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, Bruce, come again?
The application process would remain the same.
Yes.
Okay.
It's also my understanding, and maybe Susie can respond to this as well, that in addition to this change in the way that members are selected, I think that the clerk's office is also looking into recruitment. And so this is just kind of the first phase of sort of revisiting the way that this happens.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds like timing wise, we would need to determine committee and interview questions at our next meeting in order to be able to do interviews in May. So that would be our time frame. Is that correct?
Certainly we can do it today, or if you want to get with Kim prior to our April meeting, that might be better.
Joanne, you
That's what I
mean,
was kind of suggesting, yeah.
you mean in terms of the committee or in terms of the questions, Joanne?
Both. We've got pretty standardized questions at this point, but since board recruitment closes April 22nd, I guess we'd have time to establish our committee at our next meeting.
Is anybody,
Sounds like Dale might be one candidate for the nominating committee.
I was gonna ask if anybody wanted to volunteer.
Sounds like Dale was just voluntold.
Well, I'd be glad to serve, but I think somebody younger than 77 ought to be on the committee too. So.
Renee, do you have a question?
I do, and I could, first of all, Dill, you're fabulous. Second, I know I could look this up in the binder, but there must be a difference between term limited, and there was another phrase that was used, like the term is maybe expiring. If you are term limited, can you not reapply?
Sure. So we are term limited to 2 full terms, which means 6 years. And so, for instance, Bryden has served 6 full years, and so you have to sit out for 1 year before you reapply.
Thank you.
But also if your term is up, the first term at 3 years, you have to reapply. So we've run into that problem before too, that somebody wanted to reapply and didn't understand the process. And so if your term is up and you want to continue, you have to go through that process of reapplying.
I would be interested in doing it with Dale if she's interested.
Okay, great. Thank you, Callie and Dale. I'll take that and run with it.
As long as you're younger than 77.
Just barely.
You know what? Do you guys want to, my apologies, does someone want to go and float an official motion for that?
What, the age limit? There is no age limit.
Oh.
So do I have a motion to accept Haley and Dale as our interviewees for potential board members?
I think it's the nominating committee.
The nominee committee, there you go. Renee is seconding. It looks like, Tom, Renee was our motion. Tom is seconding. Can I get a all in favor? Looks like that's unanimous. Anybody opposed? No one is opposed. All right, we're gonna let Joanne run with it.
I have one more question. Joanne, I think you said there, or somebody said there was some component of recruitment through the city clerk's office. Is that you, Kim? I mean, is this committee supposed to do any recruiting or just?
Honestly, Dale, I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is that when the city clerk's office approached us with this new protocol, it came up in the conversation, does this address recruitment? And there was basically, push the pause button. We know that we need to address recruitment, but that's not part of this conversation right now. That's going to be a separate conversation.
That's right.
So honestly, I don't know what they are thinking and exactly what that's going to look like.
Because we've all talked about informally recruiting people or talking with people that might be interested or might be good fits for the museum board. And I just wasn't sure where this committee.
Sure,
fit
it's my understanding that the nominating committee is really only responsible for interviewing and forwarding their recommendation to council. But certainly we always encourage everyone to spread the word for sure, but this committee is interviews only.
Okay.
Yeah, Dale, that was my understanding as well when we discussed this on council. We had no intention of having the board go out and actively recruit. We would still
Okay.
follow the same process of putting it online and
Well, it seems that there's some sort of problem with interviewing people that you might have recruited, so I just wanted to make sure that was a separate.
yeah, no, I think that, well, I know that the city will still be posting and, making the active recruitment for that. And then definitely, people could spread the word. But yeah, I totally agree that there could be a conflict of interest if you are recruiting somebody you're close to and then interviewing them down the line. So yeah, we'll make sure.
We could go to a conscript process. Never mind. Conscription, yes.
All right. So any other board comments? Any other topics we'd like to discuss? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Anyone would like to second that? Thank you, Renee. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I have 5:38 to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all very much. I appreciate you attending, and it's good to see everyone. I hope you all stay dry and warm tonight, and we don't get too much snow.
Rhea, thank you for stepping up. I appreciate it.
Of course, happy to.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.